YouTube, it's Brian Phillips. It's been like 4.5 minutes, so we're gonna open this box.
Maybe 5.
This box, it's dinky. This is a product sample, so if the box looks a little worse for wear, that would be because it was a sample. So guys, welcome to Brian Phillips RC, where we unbox them, we build them, we set them up in their entirety on our Unbox build radio setup, and then we made and flight the planes so you can see what they do, or leaf blower. Yeah. Whatever it is. All right, so you may have seen this plane before in a different livery, but it's actually technically a different plane now. It's called the RC-45J 1.5 meter. And this is kind of a huge box, so I'm gonna do my best. Camera crew might need to help me. Pull that down. You gotta pull from the other side, there you go. Oh yeah, look at that beauty! Twin engines. Counter-rotating props. As we came to expect, those beautiful marks there. Looks absolutely gorgeous. Love the Nemo scheme.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Whoa, cool.
Obviously the original D18 would have been a non-military version, I assume. But at the end of the day, very good performing plane. Beautiful wingtips come off, all sorts of cool things. You're gonna see all that as we unbox and build this. Look, you can even see the pilots painted.
Cool.
So cool. The antenna's black on top, white on bottom.
I like it.
Looks like a fully white painted. Oh, it's glossy. Nice. Can't wait to see it. Smart technology included. 3 and 4S compatible, but who's gonna do that? Fly this on
Not you.
4S. Obviously, now we did have some issues on CG, if I remember right, on the first one. So I'm charging 3,245 or 3,200 and 4,000 milliamp hour 4S packs, with my hope of using the smaller batteries, but we ended up, I think we used a bigger pack. We were just debating about this off camera on what we used. Oh, quick size update, 1,504 millimeters wingspan, about 1,064 on length. It does have AS3X Plus. Nice. Not that we would really need the tail nose wheel thing, because that's gonna be tied to the rudder, I think. And plus with differential thrust, I felt like this plane was pretty dang good, especially grass hops. If it's a grass hops thing, it's really good. Dual 40 amp brushless ESC. Let's hope that the thrust reverse works out of box through the Avian Smart serial connection. 6 digital metal geared servos, factory installed linkages. They actually list that. Wow.
Just for me.
Our complaining has really made a splash.
Sweet.
AR631 receiver. It's crazy, you can do so much with the 631.
Yeah.
Now that being said, because you have the Avian ESC, you don't need the more expensive 637T, because you're gonna get what you need, unless of course you're looking for the barometric pressure, and then the barometer would not be supported on the 631, I believe. You have to go to the 637T, 8360T, and so on and so forth, up that line, okay? Now also, this is a well-packaged machine. I don't remember having any issues. I remember the build going pretty smooth last time too. Hold that, please. I really like this plane. It is a great plane. It is one of my favorites in the twin category. And it's funny because like I wouldn't have boasted about how much I love the D18, but it's just a really, really well done platform.
Yeah.
So I would love to see E-flite pick up a few more versions of twins that we could apply in this scale sort of sense, because it is a really, really good performing plane. Okay, so without further ado, we're gonna finish the unbox and the build. Here on Brian Phillips RC, I mentioned this at the beginning, always do. We unbox them, we build them, so that you can find out kind of what goes on. You'll notice that we have extra tape on this. That's part of the early sample process. Those poor guys at the factory have to repack our plane for us. So special thanks to you guys, Sean and
Gary.
That's right. Thanks. I know it's probably annoying. I would hate to do it too.
It's not much fun.
We keep boxes. We just are out of attic space. So we built a small building over there. I don't know if you guys can see it. We call that the damn gift shop.
Tiny.
If you guys don't know why it's called the damn gift shop, it's because you have to drive across the damn runway to get to the damn gift shop. Unless you drive another way.
Then we just call it a
then it's just
building
gift shop, I guess. But anyway, the damn gift shop is just a running joke in case you guys never knew. National Lampoon's Vegas Vacation. They go and visit the Hoover Dam, and the dam tour is going on, and he just keeps listing off all the damn stuff, and it's hilarious. So anyway, we
got
just
some-
ran with it.
We got some damn permits for our.
Yes, for the damn gift shop. Put those over there, please. There we go. Okay, so as you can see, well packed. Lots of foam to protect the foam from the foam. Ours might have a little extra foam to protect the foam from the foam. But I can definitely tell that somebody packaged this with care.
We have kind of a Coast Guard theme going on lately.
Yeah, which is awesome.
I love
actually.
it.
I do too.
Yeah.
I actually really love it. Okay, so fully painted,
Wow.
white, black, not just foam colored, guys. And it's glossy, so you have a perfect match.
It's really pretty.
On the engine nacelle cowlings. And of course the twin Avian Light dual brushless ESC. Now that means that we get counter rotating props, beautiful liveries, white painted and gray painted, beautiful. Simulated engine cowls, simulated engines inside of the cowls, which are also painted, but beautiful matching. A little bit of messy jig work there because they picked a seam to stop the black and the white. So anyway, poo-poo on them for that. Don't really care though, because you're not gonna see it when it's going by at like 45 miles an hour beautifully. Also huge inboard flaps, as you can see here. And you're like, boy, that is gonna be an easy build, because yeah, the wingtip comes off. You can quite literally fly this without the wingtips on if you're into crashing planes. I'm just kidding, you probably could actually fly it without the wingtips. So underneath, you can see how they package this underneath. I'm just gonna put things back as I go because I don't wanna miss components.
Okay.
And there's just, it's kind of a lot of pieces. Beautiful finish. You can see these come off with a snap, toolless install. They just have a plastic bite clamp, but this is serviceable still after all, which is really nice. Those screws come off. I believe you can pull that thing out. And then they have LEDs right here, all jigged and painted. So you have beautiful finish, nice clean lines on the orange, unlike the black and white that we showed earlier. This is all one big sticker. Stickers and wires go back to the same common point, comes back here. We've got 2 plugs, okay? So serviceability is the name of the game. We're seeing more of that lately. Don't forget your rod.
Oh, yes.
You have to get a rod and just penetrate it deep, okay? So 2 rods, stick and penetrate it in all the way. Then penetrate your wing into your other wing, snap it in. I'm gonna push from the other side and it snaps. Now, you don't have to worry about that thing coming off. I've never had one come off. I don't know if I've had any like wing overs or crashes or anything crazy, but I would imagine it's, you know, just as strong, if not more strong than some other models we've seen in the past. So that being said, here on Brian Phillips RC, we like to show these planes in their full imperfection. Whether that's minor imperfections or major imperfections, but E-flite does a really nice job on a good finished product. Why is there not an instrument cluster, E-flite? What the heck? Talk about a miss. Anyway, beautiful. Maybe our product sample didn't have it. So that being said, this is a replaceable part, which is kind of cool, I believe. So if you wanted to really go nuts on this, you could cut out windows, do FPV, all that crap that people like FPV do. Things like that. I don't. By the way, if you guys are FPV fans, don't take an insult to that, because I don't mean it that way. It's just not my, it's not my thing. I've never cared. I love the third person perspective. That's why I fly radio controlled airplanes. Okay. I love being able to see the air show and control it. Always have, always will. Even though FPV has its time and space and time and place, and people do really enjoy it, it just has never been my thing. That's not to say that I mean to take anything away from you. There are lots of different things that people do in this hobby and lots of room for enjoyment. You can see this nice pinch point here and nice pinch point. The pinch hinge is reinforced, but I think it's just reinforced with tape. Now, how do you tell? Look real close. You can see the little reflection of the tape.
I think you can see it. I can see it in person, yeah.
It's about the last quarter inch, and it's taped with clear tape top and bottom, okay? And that's after paint, I guess, so it's probably reinforced even more. So beautiful. We'll just go ahead and slide this in, get deep penetration, get it all the way in there. Slide this in. Don't try to stick it in there. It won't fit. If you stick it in the wrong hole, it won't fit. You know you've done something wrong. Just slide it over a few inches and right into the correct hole. Don't go over to this hole. You'll be in big trouble. All right, grab the nacelle. Start. No. Grab the other wing. Maybe. and snap it. Remember, if you squeeze hard, you'll damage the wing. Silver shows the damage more than the white. My experience. The other one's silver, okay? Which, by the way, should be able to get both still, or I don't know. Did they discontinue the other one?
I don't know.
I'm not sure if the other one's discontinued, so we'll have links in the video description below. As always, support Brian Phillips RC when you do finally make a decision to purchase. If you purchase through our links, you'll help support us financially. We make commissions from these companies. That doesn't mean we gloss over the shortcomings, okay? Never have, never will. We have no intention of doing that. But I do get really excited about a well-done plane, okay? Or helicopter, or whatever it is, okay? We love it when they're done well. It's so funny. This fuse like weighs like nothing. It's like a coffee cup. And then the wing weighs like 1,000,000 pounds because it's mostly everything that's happening. Absolutely beautiful, okay? Absolutely gorgeous. Serviceability is the name of the game. Watch this, guys. Tiny, teensy little bit of twist. That twist won't happen when there's 4 screws holding it here, okay? So very stout, very resilient. Like if I hold this up against my belly, okay, and I push on it, look at this. Look how little flex you're getting. You guys see a foam plane and you think, how strong could that be? Very strong. Now, tail wheel, pretty basic, pretty simple. It is steerable. As you can see, it's in that little twist pocket, similar to a UMX. But nice, soft, squishy tires. Give them a squeeze, hon. Yes.
Oh yeah, nice.
And then as you can see, it takes off from the rudder and there's a drop pocket in here. So it goes together very easy. This translates from the servo, which is up front right there. And as the servo, I don't usually drive servos, but I'm gonna do it here just to show you. It drives this and this drives that. So serviceability is the name of the game. I wish we had this on more planes. It would really make it nice as a modeler to have that flexibility to fix things. Also, look at this. I didn't even notice this. Gear, aileron, flap, LED.
Wow.
Watch this. Unplug, open it up. Are you kidding me? That's awesome.
Nice.
So you pass them through the pocket, land the cables, and look how easy it'd be to get in there and screw with it if you wanted to change something. So then also just be a little bit careful. I talk about this very rarely on the channel anymore. It just seems like it doesn't come up very often, but that last 28 millimeters of exposed kind of clear plastic, that is what we call like the active portion of the antenna. Of course, this is a reception antenna. And it is essentially a coax. So there is an outside kind of like almost like grounding sort of thing. And then it goes on the inside is just a single conductor, okay? So that conductor is what picks up the noise in the bandwidth of expected size, hence the 28 millimeters. And that's how it works. Pretty cool, simple stuff. We'll explain some of those things as we go. Oh, look at that, I love the door. The door outline looks very realistic. Okay, so continuing along, just be careful with the antenna because it's coax, you don't wanna break it and bend it real sharp because you can actually break the conductor inside. Now, down to what might be the last piece. Pull this out, beautiful, beautiful. And welded joint transfers left and right. And guess what you don't have to do? Anything. That is the way I like parts to come out of the box. Guys, look at this, look at this. Look at this amazing piece count. If you include the manual, which I don't know if we got ours, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 with the rods.
Right.
Okay? And that's 8 pieces for a twin engine airplane. Okay? Other manufacturers, take note. We like that a lot. You could buy this, take it to the field, unput together once, and you could get really far in setup really quick.
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind, we film these things, we take a lot of diversionary tactics.
I was just gonna say, do we have hardware somewhere?
There's something in here. Okay, so I'm gonna cut this thing. I don't know what's in here, we'll find out. Some screws,
okay.
Hardware. Okay, so maybe 9, if you include the sack of stuff.
Yeah.
Look at this, guys. That is the hardware pack.
It's my favorite.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm not gonna complain about 8 screws.
Nope.
That is amazing. We've had more screws on night lights. So there you go. Oh, we did get the manual. It's on the bottom, okay?
Okay.
So if you include the manual, we're less than 10 pieces, guys. That is incredible. Congratulations, good job, E-flite, on keeping things simple for us. Now, I understand I'm singing the praises of a re-release. Some of you guys are probably thinking, hey, we want new stuff. Yeah, we do too. They do too. Everybody does too. You got to remember, we're still working through. Some of the logistical challenges of 2025 are still being fleshed out, okay? So those logistical challenges included a lot of geopolitical upset and change, and all the manufacturers are feeling it and adjusting accordingly, okay? So just remember that when you get all up in arms about the way things are being handled, remember, it's easier said than done, okay? So, beautiful plane, beautiful boxing, very easy unpacking, very well done. Of course, we're gonna set up AS3X and safe for you. And we're gonna do the full radio setup using the NX8 Plus. Now, I think the last time we did this, we did it on the NX10, and that would've been fine. There's nothing wrong with that. If you wanna use an IX20 or an IX12 or an IX14 or an IX, whatever you happen to have, or if you wanna do an NX20 would be the other thing. I had thought about getting an NX20, and then the only reason we would do that if we ever did it is for the bigger screen, okay? The bigger screen would be handy for us because we have so much demonstration in our videos. It'd be a little easier to see and pick up on film. But I can tell you this, the NX8 or the NX8 Plus, which by the way, if you have an NX8, you have an NX8 Plus. You just gotta update the firmware. If you don't know how to update the firmware, click into your scrolling menu, scroll down to Wi-Fi, turn on the Wi-Fi, find your Wi-Fi, and then just try to update it from there. If it doesn't work, get yourself a USB micro card or a micro USB card. And that's where it's gonna go. Download the stuff, put it on the USB micro card, put it in there, turn the thing on, it'll do the firmware update, okay? Then you're gonna go from 8 channels to 20. Now, most of you getting these are gonna be getting them in the Plus configuration. But if you're watching this in 2026 and you haven't updated your firmware yet, there has never been a better reason to update firmware. I usually am a late adopter on firmware updates. I'm gonna let other people crash your stuff. So, but at the end of the day, it's very easy. We don't show a lot of it because there's a lot of personal information. Our Wi-Fi kind of sucks out here. Our network access from our internet service providers are slow because we're on a cell connection, believe it or not. Okay, so continue with the build. We're gonna put this thing together. It's gonna be easy. The radio setup will follow the build. The build's gonna be like 5 minutes, so just buckle up.
Okay, you're on the clock.
I'm gonna try to do this in 5 minutes.
Okay.
It's gonna be hard, okay?
Yes.
Well, it will be hard if it takes 5 minutes. I don't think it'll even take 5 minutes, okay? So you see the antenna? That's the one thing I was trying to figure out in my head. Drop this down. See what I'm doing? Drop it down until it lines up. Keep your antenna out, keep your wires out, okay? And wherever those two connect, see those two?
Yes.
See this?
Yep.
Because I can't see it, but you can. I'm
I
trying
can.
to do it in such a way you can see it.
Yeah,
Drop
there
it
goes.
down. It's in. We have deep penetration. How was the penetration?
It was
hon?
good.
It was good? Okay, all right, good. All right, so now I need to put some screws in. So if you would deal with my sack while I put the knife away, I'll get a screwdriver. Tell the people what you're pulling out there, hon.
Well, I'm trying to open the plastic bag. So then we have 2 bags, 3 screws, and then this is obviously what we're gonna need for the wings because it looks like we'll have 1 left over. Those are Phillips, by the way, before you start looking for screwdrivers.
Yeah. Too late.
Too late.
Okay.
I can't get that open with one hand.
I guess I'll just deal with my sack myself.
I'm sorry. I tried to
Very
help.
awkward. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that means we got extras, I think. So I'm gonna grab a Phillips, probably like in this 5mm range, AKA probably a 1 or 1.5 Phillips tip. Put it in, feels good, okay? So this is gonna be for the wing. Now you'll notice I didn't even open the manual to look at the manual, and so I can't even remember where the screws are, but that's all part of the show. So I'm gonna flip it upside down.
Bottom, yeah.
I normally wouldn't put this on, and here's why. That thing, okay? So I was just gonna encourage you to do the same. All right, and the other thing is you can build the wings at a different time if you want to make it as easy as possible. So I'm just very carefully lay that down. Make sure I'm not hitting anything I don't wanna hit. I'm not. And then 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so this should be relatively easy. Drop this down, screw it in. Now guys, E-flite makes some of the best manuals that we see from any of the entry-level, retail grade, hobby grade sort of RC equipment, okay? Spectrum and E-flite both do a really good job of articulating what needs to be done in a build. So if you're watching this video because you don't like looking at manuals, we don't blame you for a second, and we don't want to discourage you from watching our videos, clearly. But at the end of the day, the manuals are really helpful. If you ever need something that we don't tell you, or we gloss over it, or it's really fast in the video and you're struggling to figure it out, first of all, click the gear icon and see if you can slow down the playback to an acceptable speed so you can see what you want to see. See how I had to lift that up so the wing would drop in? I'm trying to close this joint, okay? So I'm looking, it's starting to tighten, and I want to collapse that as much as possible so it looks good. There it is, okay? This one I'm gonna actually drop down just to show you how it works. Drop it in, put the screwdriver in. Sometimes they don't drop into the hole, sometimes they do. But this one made it into the hole, okay? Now guys, if you think that that is a no-brainer and that you should expect that from every model, I'm just gonna let you know, you should, and you'll be disappointed because that does not always work, okay? It seems like that would be kind of like a bare minimum of assembly requirements. It's not. There are companies that you will have to surgically remove the nut zert from the other side of the model in order to do what we just did. And that took us all of what, like a minute?
That was 4 minutes.
Including waffling.
Yes.
Okay.
You have 1 minute.
1 minute?
Yeah, to finish your 5-minute build.
You said 1 minute?
1 minute.
Okay. All right, pause the video.
Wait,
I'm just kidding.
Don't squish your antenna.
See, look, it's done. Told you, 5 minutes. I wasn't gonna drop that. But yeah, guys, at the end of the day, I'm gonna take this antenna, I'm gonna stuff it back in here, get it underneath the wiring. I'm not gonna be super particular about it. What are you doing?
I was gonna try and open this screw sack for you to meet your 1 minute mark.
No, it's gonna take as long as it takes. I could care less how long it takes, just in case anybody was wondering. So the 5 minutes thing is total lie. Total lie.
They could do it in 5 minutes.
Oh, it went into the hole. Dang it. You're always trying to find the nearest hole to slide in. There it is.
Oh, there you go.
So now it's back. Okay. So now that that's back, we're out of the way. But you also don't have to worry about bumping into that a lot because it's out of the way. You also have all this stuff sort of self-contained, so the movement of the servo controls are not going to be a big issue. Okay. So that's quite critical.
It says insert antenna here.
Oh.
Is there like a specific pocket
there is.
for it? Or up there, there's another one. Sorry, I just started.
Oh, there is?
Things.
I'll just go here. That is a good point. Thank you, camera crew, for noticing. I totally didn't notice. I probably should have, but I didn't. See, now look where it went.
Oh.
I was happier with where I had it
So
before.
then go in the back hole.
I gotta go under and around moving parts. I think I gave better advice before, because look where we're going now. Look at this. Look at this. What the heck? Why didn't they put it on the other side if they're gonna put it? Okay, well, that's fine. As long as it goes up like this. You just wanna clear this moving part, okay? Then that won't slide out. If it moves a little bit, it's fine. You still want it to totally pull out and get that 28mm section broken, okay? So now, the tail section. This should be 2 screws. And we just gotta make sure that this thing aligns into the slot, okay? So camera crew is gonna move over to the other side, over there. And this is gonna need to get hooked. This is tricky. This is one of the only tricky parts of this model build. See that? Mm-hmm. We gotta stick that into the right hole, okay? So we have to figure out what hole to stick it in. I do not remember. So for that reason, we're gonna have to break open the manual. So we'll pause and get that broke open and come right back. All right, so we found it in the manual. What page?
Page 5.
Okay. So you want this look like this, guys. Wait, down. Like this?
Yes.
Is that what they showed?
Yes.
Okay, so it's gonna go like this. And then you're gonna slide this in like this. And I'm gonna use forceps to make this easier. Okay, bent tip forceps. I can pull this up and make it even easier. Don't bend it, okay? Put it in, go straight forward. Gotta be kind of careful. Sounds kind of poppy and hissy. Okay, go to the other side. I want to make sure that the people can see this. Okay, down, turn it like this. Get the alignment right. Run that in. Oh gosh. I remember this was kind of a pain in the neck the first time. You need to stop moving. Okay. Dang it. So I'm just gonna fold this up a little bit. Drop that in. I'm struggling to get that thing through because the elevator, everything wants to move out of the way, folks. Once you get it in, could you put a hand on the plane? Let go. Okay, there we go. So pressing, there it is. And then as I rotate this, I'm walking it along, okay, let go. Come around the other side to the back. See how I got it in through the first bend, and then it's like halfway through, okay? It's halfway through. That's where we want it to park. Don't go any further, then rotate it. And as you rotate it, now you can tip, okay? And you can see what you're doing.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so yeah, that was awkward. I remember being awkward. Camera crew needed to hold it, and when she pressed down, she tipped it down out of my hands. So if you got to help her, have him press up on the nose. Right. That was where we needed, because what was happening is it was pushing the plane away as I would press hard against that black rod, okay? So now there is another trick, and the trick is this. You see where that's actuated? You see where that's actuated? Mm-hmm. That can be moved back to center, more neutral. That'll make it easier to get your tail dropped into place, okay? So show them here. Show them here. See this? Now that it's centered, it's easier to drop down, see? See how it drops down? Before it was pushing the whole assembly out, okay? Because that would have forced the elevator way up, and it's just an awkward thing to do. Not that big a deal, it's a one-time kind of thing. Unless, of course, you have to take this tail off. I'd be amazed if anybody who flies RC airplanes would have to take this off, but I suppose it's not entirely impossible. That being said, whenever I need to compress the size of this plane, I pull the wingtips off. You can literally do it with no tools.
Yeah.
Like while you're flying, you can just like land, take off the wings, lose an aileron, and it's pretty much there. And you all of a sudden you have a 3-channel plane, but I think it would probably still fly, okay? All right, so then just put these screws in. These are smaller. Full disclosure, I went to a 4mm drive. I was using a 5mm Phillips driver before, okay? All right, so we're done there, beautiful. Now, you may notice something interesting about this plane. The gear are up, okay? Look what's happening to this plane. If you have a gear failure, which you won't because they're so simple, then this thing can basically belly land, but you're gonna have your props into the ground. So just keep that in mind. Also, prop clearance is pretty good on this plane because it is a tail dragger, so it sits up a little bit, and it's beautiful for grass ops, but you will get grass sprayed on the bottom of your plane, just like a normal operation. Also, one of the first things I like to do, first of all, we don't ever really use the bind plugs anymore, just so you know, because I can get right to the button. Show them the button, please.
Right here.
That button can be pressed shortly after starting up the plane, and then we can bind it to our transmitter. It's a very easy process, but I keep all these bind plugs because sometimes it's nice to have them. You can actually take those apart and you can build another end if you don't have an end builder, okay? Clip the lead that goes from the negative to the signal, and then you can take another bind plug, peel out the one of the two, slide it in the center. All of a sudden you've got a full port, okay? I prefer just buy a kit. The kits are cheap, like 10, 12 bucks, and you can build like, you know, tons of ends, okay? I think we're still using the same kit we got years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to cut off that stupid warning, and I also want to do one other trick. Now, this is something you may not do. I do, you may not. Okay, when you fly a plane and you put batteries into a plane, there's certain battery things that annoy me. Battery things like Velcro annoy me, okay? I don't like Velcro on my packs because it always seems to block the wrong spot. So I like using shelf liner. This is a shelf liner we found that's solid. If you can't find something like this, just go to brianphillipsrc.com. and look into our supplies tab, and you can find things like China glue or foam to foam or CA or whatever it is that we feature. There's a million choices for a lot of this stuff, but when you buy from those links, you'll help support Brian Phillips RC. And then, oh shoot, look at that. On this IC3, we have this, this warning that's gonna tell you not to chop off your dingling when you plug in the battery. So I'm just gonna just give you the warning.
File
You only
that for
get
you.
one warning. Okay. So then this is gonna basically go in here, and that's gonna resist the slipping of a battery without the addition of Velcro. Okay, now ours was probably supposed to come with a little chunk of Velcro, and if it did, then the PD guys forgot to include them. So whatever, I don't care. I was gonna use it anyway. So I take a little China, slather a little bit of China glue on this, or where we think it's gonna go, probably better here, and I'll show you why. Just a little bit there, a little bit there. Basically the high points that are likely to touch, and then just a little bit here up the length of that area. It doesn't need to be a lot of glue, because really just by rights, this stuff is going to give a sticky, tacky surface to resist sliding, okay? So you don't even have to be perfect. Then I'm just gonna take my finger and just slather that around a little bit. And I wanna keep away from the straps so the straps can still slide through freely, okay? That's important. Slather that around a little bit, and you can see it's just goobery. And then whatever I got on my fingertip, I'm gonna just go ahead, I'll slide the kind of unkept end down. I'll just slide that off onto the anti-slip shelf liner and just roll that crap off my fingers. And then I'm gonna just carefully fold this like a taco so that I can control it easier, keep it out of the glue until I'm where I want it to go. The other thing you can do is you can peel these opened. And once you've peeled them opened, it makes it a little easier to slide this taco down in the hole. And once that's down in the hole, you can just drop it. So I dropped it and landed perfectly. That's the way it always works.
Always.
Every single time.
Without fail.
Actually, I don't know that that's ever happened in the history of time. All right, guys. That little step seems like kind of a no-brainer to anybody who's done this for a while, but for the brand new pilot in the RC community, you probably wouldn't know how to do that. And these are the types of little tiny tricks that will make your life easier when you're at the flying field. Okay, so check out bprc.me or brianphillipsrc.com in case you didn't know how to spell it. All right, so we need to look at the manual to see what size battery this takes. Yes, the build is done, so it took exactly 5 minutes, see?
Yeah, close, not quite.
We would use the magic of video editing to correct that to exactly 5 minutes so I could be right. Camera crew, if you're
We
listening.
don't do that.
Yeah, I was gonna say we don't do that because we don't care nearly enough.
The recommended size is 4004S.
So like the two that are sitting here charging? Wow, amazing. Okay, this is a smart charger, the S2200. I would highly recommend that one. That one is the one that I use all the time. This is my backup plan. Why? Because look, watch this. I can do a reach around and shut the power off. Boop. Okay, I like that. Then this is one of my least favorite features of this battery is this happens to be a Gen 1. If you get a Gen 1 4004S, look how short that stupid lead is.
Yeah.
It is like almost comically insane to plug in. So if you do a lot of these, you could buy these extension cords, which are ridiculous. I didn't even know such a thing existed, but they do. And then you can make this so much easier to plug in. And this has an IC3 to IC3. They have other configurations, IC3 to IC5, IC2 to IC3, IC3 to IC2, all the sorts of stuff.
Yep.
But the thing that's really nice is if you take and build like one of those like bomb cases that has all the different chargers in it, these things work really nice, okay? Or I had somebody in the comments said that they had a competitive A10 from Freewing, and they said they had a really hard time with the wires. I don't know anything about Freewing because I've never, except for one experience, and it was a terrible one, on an A10. It was an old crappy 4S. It was like one of the worst offerings from Freewing. We did that, but it was years ago, and I was a much worse pilot. And now that we have 6S offerings from a bunch of different brands, up to and including Freewing, they're way better, by the way. I've never seen one since. But anyway, he said he used those to make it easier to plug in, which is pretty cool. So if you have a plane where there's a really inaccessible area, it's difficult to get to, those are really nice. So just tips for the day, okay? 4004S, this happens to be a 30C. Did they call out what C rating? Why don't you look real quick and just see what they say?
They will. No, actually there is no C rating.
Okay, if they don't call out a C rating, 30 is fine, okay? 25 might even be fine. But I'm gonna just tell you this. Over my shoulder, there might be an airplane in the background that we're running on a 2200 4S.
Yeah.
This thing is a much bigger motor set and it's way more capable in every direction. But that does have 4 motors and it's running on a 2200 4S. So if this thing can fly on a 4000, by the way, this will fly on smaller, but you're gonna have a harder time getting the CG right, okay? Now I think we also had a 5000 called out if we have issues with CG, okay? So sliding this in, these are the types of details, tips and tricks, all the way to the front until it hits the firewall, okay? That is the firewall. I'm gonna just call it the firewall, the bulkhead, the tip, the end of the plane, okay? So I am gonna go ahead and try to undo this so I can slide it through. Some of you don't like sliding it through. You'll tape them right up, or not tape them, but stick them to themselves. Others of us like to pull through so that we can get that nice downward pressure. And the other thing is, you remember earlier when we were gluing that little piece of shelf liner in here, I was super careful not to get glue on the channel. Now, that doesn't mean that they didn't glue these at the factory down. See, they didn't. You see what I just did? I pulled that toward me just a hair. And what that's gonna do for me is it's gonna give me an easier time depending on that pull from my left hand, which appears on your left side of your screen, or right side of your screen, and my right hand, and that gives me a really good purchase on this battery. And then what do you do with all this excess? Good question. I have always flipped and restuck. That's what I try to do. It doesn't always work because you don't always get enough purchase to hold it in place, okay? But that seems to work. It's a good starting point at least, right? So guys, remember, here on Brian Phillips RC, our goal is to get people out of the chair and into the air. So if you're that person, smash the like button right now, click the bell for notifications and subscribe to the channel. There's new content all the time and you want to be part of it. Yes, that means you'll be tempted in ways that you shouldn't be tempted. And that's okay. All right, getting back to the message. The other thing we do is we tell the full truth, nothing but the truth, so help us God. Why? Because everybody on YouTube seems to want to just be bought and sold like a commodity. And there's a certain amount of that just because you have an audience. Manufacturers assume that you will just say whatever they tell you. The truth is, we have always been really happy with E-flite. I think we've had like maybe 5 or 6 planes from E-flite that have sucked. And we've done like almost every one of them. And I'm talking not in E-flite, but just Horizon in general. Yeah, like what, the mini Aero Scout? That thing sucked.
There was a little, was it a VTOL? The Convergence.
Yeah, that Convergence was worse than all the Chinese competitors. Pressing that down, I want to talk about what's happening now. Do you see how we're off the end of the battery?
Yes.
So this is going to end up basically being a space holder, okay? So what do you do when you get to space holder territory, okay? This is going to basically stop it from sliding back. It's not really by design that way, but that's the way it worked out. So I'm going to press this down a little bit further. Just a little bit further. And once we get a little bit further like that, then I'll just go over to itself and just press it down. And then that can't go back, okay? Then I'm gonna take and do the same thing, even though you don't have to. This is a little thicker and more resilient than what we've seen in the past on the E-flite offerings. I don't know if they went to a higher strength sort of core on that belt, but it is really good. I like it, and it keeps flat. So it's like a little bit less felty and a little bit more plasticky, but it's really good. And it's funny because what's hard to articulate to people that are watching a video like this and just assuming that we're just shields for all these companies we work with, we don't care what you buy, by the way, if it's that one or this one. I love this plane. I know it's good. It's better than that in a lot of ways. That one's pretty cool, but it's not the same level of build quality. And you'll understand if you get your hands on one. It is really hard to distinguish the subtle differences between one plane and another that are in the same price point, similar size class, multi-engine, same type of livery. I mean, obviously different models, different sizes, different batteries, lots of different motors involved, different servos. But it's like the subtlety of the overall flight performance, flight experience, build experience, unboxing experience, serviceability experience, power experience. I mean, there's safe versus not having safe, AS3X Plus versus AS3X, or AS3X Plus versus some other competitive, you know, stabilization system. Everything rolled up into a ball of wax. And we almost always have a competitive edge with the E-flite offering. And I'm talking apples to apples, companies that made them for E-flite making an offering, E-flite still beats them. They just do, because they say, hey factory, if you make something better than us, we will crush you. And so they're like, okay, we'll put squishy tires on yours. I mean, it's like, that's the way it works. If you don't like it, head over to brianphillipsrc.com and find something you do like.
And then you also have, you know, the Avian ESCs, and you have,
which makes a huge improvement over even probably in retail, over-the-counter offerings. I would call maybe the FMS,
the Predator.
The Predator ESC up. Only because they would be like a close second, because they have the built-in thrust reverse. It's very common. The Avian thrust reverse works.
All the time.
Theirs kind of works. We use this to actively slow down our planes, which is awesome. And also on this one, it's really cool because you have thrust reverse even with differential thrust. It's not hard to set up either, which is awesome. So, and it just doesn't waste a bunch of channels. You need 2 additional channels of pluggable control to do that sort of thing with the competitive offering ESCs. So like if you were to buy this just a naked model without any electronics, which I don't even think you can, it would cost you so much to make up to what you have with the tech here. Even if you're, you know, a Futaba guy and you want to have Futaba offerings in every plug and fly you've ever had, when you get a Spectrum offering, it's really nice to have the Spectrum transmitter. I'm just telling you that from experience. We know guys that fly jetties. We know guys that fly a lot more expensive than this. This is cheap compared to that stuff.
Yeah.
You'll spend more on the receiver for a jetty than you will on this, okay? So if you think it's expensive, remember, this is just this isn't even hardly the tip of the iceberg. What we review on this channel is for the normal layman. And then over there, the crazy people live. And I have 3 runways on my property.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, getting back to the point. We have to do radio setup, so let's mark the CG next.
Okay.
Because that'd be part of the build. Where possible, we do the entire build first so that my wife has an easier time stamping stuff. So we're gonna mark it. Oh shoot, I've got a black area here. How am I gonna mark that? Probably just have to do a dent.
Okay, this has specific directions. Are you ready?
Yeah.
The CG is located 17 to 27 millimeters forward from the panel line at the wing joint where the center section and the outer panel meet.
Good Lord. Okay. So, what? I'm gonna have to look at this one.
Yeah.
This is bizarre. I don't remember them all calling it out that way, but that's right. We had issues with it, remember? So they're talking about the wing joint. So here's the wing joint, okay? They're saying there's a panel line, the second panel line back. This is the first technical. That's supposed to be like a, gosh, what is that? Shoot. It's
a
an
de-icing?
Yeah, de-icing bag. So this is the first panel line, second panel line. So second panel line back. And it's supposed to be 22 millimeters in front of it, plus or minus. So what's 22? So it'd be 17
to 27.
To 27 millimeters, okay? And that's how it's gonna be, but then we have to make that mark make sense all the way across the plane. So it's kind of like, you can tell where the wing spar technically would be, which is kind of like here, but because the wing has this shape to it, you know, you gotta be careful where you try to mark it. So 17 to 27 millimeters. All right, so turning the calipers on, make sure you're zeroed out. 17. All right, so we got 17 close enough. And that's 17 ahead.
Yes.
So that is really dang close to, why did they not say there? Why did they not say there? Because am I crazy, or is that pretty much almost exactly there? You know what?
Almost.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say,
But then
that's probably it, but just hold on. So that's 5 millimeters difference, right? So let's just say where 5 is.
10.
Oh, 10?
Yeah.
Yeah, plus or minus, okay.
Yeah.
Right, good point. So there's 10, so watch this, guys. So let's say that we're 1 millimeter in front. So you're pretty much right there and there, okay? And then if you come out here and extrapolate that, it's hard to get the angles exactly right. Now that's one thing I'm just gonna talk about. When you have a rounded plane with a rounded connection, it is where at the wing root do we normally intersect the wing root and measure back. Well, when you have a taper here, it makes it hard to measure there. And also you have a taper on the wing. You also have the shape of the wing, the airfoil. And so when you extrapolate the CG, you have to imagine it being exactly straight down if you were to draw a laser. There was a time in our early career of doing this, whatever you want to call it, where we used to take and measure and like put it and wrap it along the airfoil. That was wrong. It's supposed to be like on top of it, okay? So measured like a straight line up and a straight line over. They're telling you this measurement, not the sweep, okay? Because of course the sweep would change the CG point a lot. All right, so I'm gonna just do this. I'm gonna make 2 marks here, okay? So we'll go 17, and I'm just gonna show you a way you could do it that would work for people that are maybe a little bit newer to the hobby, okay? So just go 17 millimeters out and make a little dent, tiny little dent, okay? Then I'm gonna go over here, I'm gonna do the exact same thing. So we're coming over to 2 lines back, and then I'm just gonna make a dent just a tiny bit inboard, okay, right there. I can see it, you probably can't, we'll darken it in a minute here. So now 17 becomes 27, okay? You can also measure 10 from the first mark, but 27 gives you another check and balance if you made a mistake on your first marking, okay? So from the same place, okay, so just inboard, same thing. Both of those tips, the reference is whatever the reference is. So just make sure when you're measuring, you hold yourself accountable. Okay, so now go to 10. And remember, this is a little bit overthinky, but the truth is if you get this thing marked right, you can tell we're about 10 there. Okay, so we're about 10 there, and we're about 10 there. We've double checked our measurement, and we're close enough for all good measures, okay? So now I can take this, and if in doubt, you can extrapolate exactly where those are gonna be. And if you need to darken the holes, just darken them. It's not that big a deal. It'll look like a panel line. But you can see those 2 little tiny dots. And then over here, you can see 2 tiny little dots. And just remember, those 2 little tiny dots, if you're really, really anal retentive, you could take a laser and join those up. And then you can mark wherever you want. Because I'm probably not gonna test right there. That's too far outboard. It's gonna be awkward to test the center of gravity at that point, okay? So I'm gonna turn this, and I'm gonna figure, if I have to test this, I wanna test it where I can see where that's gonna be, okay? So I know about where this is gonna be, and this is where you have to, remember that measurement I was talking about? Mm-hmm. And I'm sighting down the length of the plane, and I'm just gonna give myself 1 mark. Let me give myself 1 mark, okay? And then I'm just gonna make sure I agree with it still, okay? And then those marks have to be extrapolated for both, okay? So I'm gonna just go like that. It's right about where the nacelle hits the wing, okay?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm like, okay, if they have an intersection that's like definitely molded into the model, I'm kind of surprised they didn't call out that intersection, but they had reasons for it. Okay, so the battery is not plugged in, okay? Pay attention to this for a sec. This has a relatively short lead, not gonna make a big difference in weight. But if you're concerned about the way that the impact of this cable is gonna be, just plug it into only one of the 2 sides. The negative is landed to the negative. You can do that in IC3 or an EC3 or an XT60. I don't know that you can do that. Watch this, release button, press it down, snap it, boom, okay? So now, how do we test the CG? Gear down is typically the rule of thumb. The gear are currently up, okay? Why do you test CG with the gear down? Because you're taking off and you're landing with the gear up or the gear down, right? So you could keep flying forever, then you would test with the gear up. I'm just gonna tell you this right now. I am between the 2 holes and it's slightly nose forward, okay? slightly tail back on, okay, so on the back holes, it's leaning forward. On the front holes, it's leaning back. So somewhere between the range, we will balance. Now, the question becomes, will that hold true with the gear down? Obviously, the tail wheel's not gonna change its position, but look how these gear deploy.
Yeah.
They shoot out and forward, which means we need to know if with gear down, this plane is going to upset the CG, okay? So we'll have to recheck that.
Okay.
That being said, it's been marked. We have a pretty good recommendation for getting the markings done. I'm happy with that. You guys can extrapolate that as deep as you want and try to copy what you want to copy or just do it a different way. But I will tell you this, it is easier to test inboard, in my opinion. I feel like it's easier to get your fingers on this. And I just usually, some people's hands, their index finger's longer. Some people's their ring finger is longer. My middle finger is typically a little bit longer than the rest, okay? If you have fingers like mine, use your middle fingers, reach out there, hit the point, balance it, let it do its thing. You don't need to let it fall off your fingers or anything, but just get it right. This plane is picky about CG, okay? All right, so now that we have it all assembled, we can start the radio setup. And the radio setup on a plane like this is relatively easy because this is a bind and fly. Now, there's additional features that weren't around during our last Unbox build radio setup for the D18, and that would be pulling the receiver file from the plane.
Yes.
I am not sure that I want to do that because here's the thing. We make a very big stink about trying to show people how to do things just so on this channel. Because our goal is to get you in the air, find success, keep you flying, okay? Because a lot of people start with the wrong plane at the wrong time and they fail immediately and quit, give up, and get out of the hobby. And it's actually a big problem in the hobby, okay? Because, you know, it's kind of like having a salesman that always can never close the deal, okay? They get them 90% of the way and they never buy, or they go buy the competitor's product at the end of the day. We're not concerned about selling this plane versus another plane. I'm just concerned about selling the concept of flying, okay? If I'm a salesman, that's what I sell. I want you flying and I want you having success, okay? So that's where we're gonna do it, and we're gonna do our radio setup right now. All right, so the way we start this project is we build a profile, and the profile is either we build it from scratch or we download it from the plane. Let's try downloading it from the plane. So cancel and back takes you to system setup where you can select your model. Okay, so add a new model, create. So we're gonna create a blank acro and there's nothing set up on it. The first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set up a throttle cut just to make sure that it's set up. It's gonna get overwritten anyway. Okay, I'm gonna look down here, it says -100. And it's -100, throttle cuts off, and now it's moving. So throttle cuts on, everything goes to -100. Verify that part. Beyond that, throttle cuts on. I'm not worried about anything else right now. The gear switch may or may not be in the right position, but we're just gonna go with it for now. Here's why. When you have a plane, especially a twin prop plane that has a CG you're trying to test, that you have to do all these things, maybe we'll pull the profile out and just show you how it goes.
Okay.
If it goes well, worst case scenario, I can erase it and start from scratch. Not sure how we're gonna go through this, but if you like the way that we normally do setups, then you could probably go back and watch the original DX or the DA18. Okay, couple things to keep in mind. I don't want those props to hit, so I'm gonna put them in a spot where if something would go wrong, I can control the plane and the props won't hit the table or the counter or my important bits. Okay, so I'm just gonna pop that. I'm gonna open it. I'm prepared to plug it in, but I wanna make sure that my body is positioned so my elbow or my arm doesn't get cut by this prop. So if you're really in doubt, just take this off or take this off. You hold the prop, you stick a screwdriver in there, you break that nut free and it comes off. Okay, it's not hard to do, but I also have never had an E-flite start with the exception of one time. We had an FW190, and during system setup we had it start, but it was going at like 1% speed. There was something about an ESC thing. We worked it out. It was no big deal. Nobody got cut, okay? So right here, secure the plane, secure the plane. keep your hands in this plane here, right here, or right here. So in my case, I'm gonna go here, secure it, keep your body in a place where you know you've got control. I'm controlling it. Plug it in. This is the first and only time. You can't trust the plane until you can trust the plane. So don't trust it until you can trust it, right? Plug it in. The ESC should not arm, okay? I have hold of it. Worst case scenario, I would hold this and continue holding it until the battery died. That's never happened in my RC experience. Okay, my throttle cuts on, but it doesn't matter because it's not bound. That's why it's singing songs to us, okay? So I'm gonna press this button. Now it's in bind mode. Just for the sake of easiness, I'm gonna do that because I don't want that to get sucked off the table. And then I'm going to, I can now, at least for the matter of trusting the plane, can get this so it's a little bit further out. Can hold, look, I'm holding it. Click, scroll down to bind. Binding. Okay, everything's sprung to life. Throttle is down, okay? Auto config. So as you can see, we did not get an opportunity to pull the profile out, okay? Oh, now we did, okay? So I'll come back over here where I can secure safely the plane. I'm gonna go ahead and load it. So just click and scroll over to load. It's gonna overwrite what's in it, which was our acro. It doesn't matter, I didn't even put a name in it. Okay, now wait for it to work. Kind of go back a little bit so they can see both. Okay, so clearly things changed. They have flaps on the D switch. I am gonna change like pretty much everything. So throttle cuts on. First thing I'm gonna do is hold that way over the counter, give it throttle, nothing happens. Throttle cuts off, give it throttle. As you can see, it's working. Throttle cuts on. Now I can trust the throttle, okay? I'm gonna pull up on the elevator, up, down. I'm gonna roll left and roll right. I'm gonna yaw left and yaw right. Very good. So those surfaces are good. The flaps are working. You see where my hand is, guys? That's why you gotta be careful about throttle on this plane. Very good. Okay, so that's all working. Now gear, up, down. They're in the right orientation. So now we can check the CG, okay?
Okay.
So this plane is technically flyable right now. I haven't set up AS3X or forward programming. We'll do that here in a minute. Spin it around on its nose. Find the spots that you marked. Put your fingers on them. See how close I got my face to the prop? That's why you gotta be careful, okay? On the back hole. On the back holes, back marks, it's nose heavy. On the front marks, it's tail heavy. So there was hardly a shift in the center of gravity. But real quick, while we can, I'll very carefully lay this on the wing. Look at those squishy tires, beautiful, okay? Now one area that this plane does not excel in is the detail around the gear area. They're very plain, they're very simple, but I will just remind you, on this particular aircraft, you don't really see that much under there, okay? Some airplanes, it seems like you see a lot of the gear openings and stuff. But on this one, for whatever reason, it's not a big deal because the wheels are exposed, I believe, on the real one. And so I don't mind having a little bit less attention paid to that, okay? So look, gear up. They have a good speed to them. They're not like super schizophrenically fast, but they do the job. Steerable tail wheel works, rudders work, okay? So all the surfaces work, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come back around here and see if differential thrust is already set up. I don't know if it is. Okay, throttle cuts off. Forward thrust, looks sweet. Give it rudder. Look at that, look at that. Show them my stick. Okay, eventually both will start. Sweet. Now, if they already set up thrust reverse, which I doubt they did, okay, I'm gonna see there's no channel attached, there's no channel attached, there's no channel attached, so it's not gonna be active. Throttle cuts on and tested. So now at this point, it becomes a function of, do we want to change the way that this model is set up? Because we already have AS3X working, AS3X working, AS3X working, and then safe will very likely also be working. But That might be because this is a product sample, okay? So yours might not be activated yet. We'll show you the process of going through activation in forward programming. But there's another thing you need to know. You see how that says normal mode? Takeoff flaps, landing flaps. Okay, so you can see a little bit of correction. So you can also click and scroll down to flap system. Where's flaps? There it is, flap system. Okay, so they did -100, 0, and +100. And it's on switch to flight mode, and it's got a 2-second deployment speed, okay? So pretty simple. It's also tied to switch D. I would not tie that. And I don't change my flight modes. Some people like using flight modes for that. I don't, because I use flight modes for AS3X or safe. If you're turning safe on and off, or you're not, then they also have the rates all split out. Yeah, so we're gonna start from scratch. I don't wanna deal with this. It's way too much effort for me to try to explain how to change what's already set up and get you to where I want you for a beginner, okay? Now, if you wanna exactly emulate that, you can follow through the process that we've done. Now we're gonna start from scratch and we're gonna go through the radio setup the way I want it. Yes, you can modify this all you want. That's fine, but I'm gonna show you how to do it. And our way is going to be a little bit different and also quite easy still, okay? All right, so the first thing you need to do is, of course, click, well, I'm gonna probably secure the plane. We'll pop this. We've already checked the CG. So now one other trick you can do that is, it's usually a good idea to do this when you're fresh building the model, because you're gonna forget to do it later. I mark it and I draw an arrow. It's usually the arrow indicates what direction the wire's coming out. But this is a 4S 4000 milliamp hour, okay? And it's all the way forward to the front, but this is where the battery ends, right?
Right.
So when you press that thing in there, you don't have to constantly mess with it to figure out your CG, which is why we make small marks on the wing and not huge marks, because you're not gonna actually test it every time. You're just gonna load the pack once you've vetted the center of gravity. Okay, barring some sort of another change that we didn't know about, that's gonna get you in a good spot. Okay, now, in order to do the radio setup, what you're gonna do is you're gonna open the manual. If you wanna use the manual, you can just copy what we do too. And this is the part we've already done here, okay? It talks about how they set up the different things, okay? Over here is where we'll set up for NX setup, except we're gonna basically ignore most of it anyway, or DX if you're DX, or IX, of course you can pause it. Now that's on page 7, it looks like, 6 and 7. Now, there's also a few other things that need to be set up if you want full feature of program things. And I'm trying to find where it talks about the poles of the motor. This is the telemetry settings that they recommend. Pole count, 14, right there. So when you get ready to set up your telemetry settings, you can set the pole count to 14, okay? And that's gonna help with like the RPMs and stuff. I've never even looked at the RPMs, to be honest. Some people get really hard on about that stuff. I don't care. Okay, and this is where the CG was, which we've already worked out. And then just kind of scrolling through real quick so you kind of see how this works. They talk about the direction of rotation and expectation of rotation. Okay, and then some troubleshooting, and then you're out. So don't be freaked out by a big manual, because you're only using this little chunk here, and then the rest of it is just different languages, okay?
Yep.
Okay, so what we'll do is we will go ahead and leave this open to page 7, and we'll go through the process with you. Okay, so page 7. And this is where we're gonna just refer to, right? Mm-hmm. And they're calling out 4 and 7. Ours was actually different than that. Let's scroll down. Before we totally redo this, this is one area where I would probably copy 6 and 8. They did 6 and 8 as opposed to -4 and -7. Interesting. So that is quite a difference, okay? That's negative.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna go with Obviously, something changed because this is what pulled out. And so we'll figure it out ourselves. Okay, so as usual, we'll just go ahead and put that over there where it belongs. All right, so to build a profile, the first thing I want to do is I want to go into System Setup, Disconnect RF. Now here's how you can clear your model to a factory default. Okay, Model Select. There's the acro we were working with, okay? Model name. Did you see it? It's an acro. See how it says model select? Look. Oh, now it's got the name.
Oh,
so it never refreshed it. Okay, so there's the one we're going to be working with. So I'm going to select that. Model type. You can change it to an acro. It's going to be reset. Sure it will. Okay. Now go back to model select and watch this. Acro. It says back to acro. It really likes that acro. So now we can type in the name exactly the way we want. I like the number, I like the colon, I like the space. So I'm going to go ahead and type in Beechcraft RC-45J 1.5 and we'll come right back. All right, so we typed in the name Beechcraft RC-45J 1.5. Okay, so we'll hit back. Aircraft type. So we have to set up the aircraft type. So this is going to be one aileron, one flap, because there's just one flap, servo, and that would be something that we're going to just double check real quick on page 7, even though everything else seems to be the stuff we'd normally go with. Aircraft type, one aileron, one flap. I just wanted to confirm that, okay? So one aileron, one flap. The tail is a typical normal tail, even though it looks like a twin tail, it's not, because we just have one servo that drives it. Okay. And then I'm gonna select the image. I did like their image selection, which was the, this one, that twin. Okay, sweet. And the flight mode setup, I'm gonna set up my flight mode on switch D, which is where they set up their flight mode for flaps. That's not the way I do it. I'll show you why we do it this way as we work through. So these are gonna be displayed, and this is gonna be an audible, okay? So it's gonna be an audible feedback compared to the displayable value that's on the screen while you're running, okay? So at the top of switch D, flight mode 1 in my case is gonna be AS3X, okay? So AS3X, of course, stands for Artificial 3-Axis Stabilization. And if you hit cancel, cancel, it will clear all the rest of the characters, AS3X. Now I'm using a legacy keyboard. If you don't like this or you use the more modern keyboard, that's fine. I just find that really difficult to wrap my mind around, okay? I'm gonna scroll way down here and we'll come back. All right, so then we get down to save, and then there's AS3X. And then this is where we're gonna set up an off mode. Highlight it, cancel, cancel. Now this is gonna say OFF. Whoops. So now the reason we have an off mode is if somebody really doesn't want to fly with stabilization, you can turn it off. On this type of model, most of the time you can do that. Sometimes on the bind and flies, you don't have the means of turning it off. I'll show you how to do it. Okay, so there's off. So AS3X off, and then this one's going to be safe for sensor assisted flight envelope. Cancel, cancel. So sensor assisted flight envelope is where we do our auto leveling and limitations of bank and roll, or pitch and bank angles. And so, oops. So safe. Then we'll scroll down and set it to that. Okay, safe mode. Off. Now keep in mind, these are just labels. They're not actually the setting. Okay, channel sign, let's see what they preset. I think gear is fine there. Flap is gonna eventually be set to something. I don't want B on that. I don't know why they do that. I'm gonna set B for flap, so I need to inhibit that so it doesn't tie up B on aux 7. And so I'm gonna hit cancel. And then come over here to rotary knob. I'm on a 6-channel receiver, so that means I'm not into a pluggable up here, okay? So channel 8 could just stay rotary knob, which is fine. I don't know that we're gonna use it on this model because we don't have a master gain on a bind and fly, so I might actually just eliminate that. And then the standard, the default thrust reverse is going to be, I think it's channel 7, but you can do 5 through 9 So why don't you just for grins, we'll use the highest channel, switch G on channel 9, okay? So this is switch G, that'll be my thrust reverse right here, and this will be throttle cut, okay? So when this is forward, the plane will fly forward. When it's in the middle, it's gonna be reverse, and when it's in the back, it's gonna be a reverse, but no pilot fatigue on a prop-driven plane, it's too dangerous, okay? So then we can walk out of that menu structure. Oh, we do need to set up one. Let's go to an unpluggable. The first available unpluggable is fine. So let's do this to either switch D, or instead of D, you can scroll all the way to the left and one over to the right, and it'll be flight mode. So whatever the flight mode is gonna be attached to that switch. Now, if you guys are watching along, you're like, why didn't you just use the thing that was in the receiver? Because there's way too much overlap, and it's way harder for me to articulate to somebody that's brand new how to do that change to get it to work when I can just start from scratch and probably build out a better outcome that's closer to what I want to do. Doesn't mean you have to do it that way, okay? This is all about brand new people in this Unbox build radio setup business, okay? All right, so flight mode or switch D. Doesn't matter which one, but just remember it's on aux 7 in this case. This is actually technically aux 2, but the new nomenclature is, it happens to be channel 7, so we're gonna call it aux 7. That's a new thing that Spectrum's been doing. It's probably wise, but it's not been that way for long, so people are still a little bit confused by it, okay? All right, so trim setup, I'm not gonna change, but you could just, so you know, change trim so that when you're in AS3X versus off versus safe, you can change so that they're not tied together and they're distinguished separately from one another. So if in safe you have a little bit of a downward cant or whatever, you can change that. But we'll show you another place to change that too, and that's in forward programming when you level the model and capture attitude, okay? All right, back to the main screen. First thing we gotta do is set up throttle cut. It's a safety issue, so I jump to that first, even though it's out of order. Switch H, acknowledge the input. Look at this, it says -100, and the stick is not responsive. That's what we want. Throttle cut is on. Throttle cut's off. It goes to all the way to the top, and the range is working, so now I can go throttle cut. It's tested, it's working. Then I'm gonna set up rates in Expo. This is where we deviate big time from the manual. The manual suggests basically a high and low rate. So high rate would be 100 and Expo of 10%, and then a low rate of 70 with 5% Expo. Okay, big disparity in settings here, guys. This is a highly subjective matter. Their way is not wrong, my way is not right, and vice versa. But I will tell you my way is better for the beginner. Why? They split out to 3 switches. The average Joe that's just learning to fly cannot keep 3 switches straight, let alone 7, okay? We're gonna have flaps, gear, reverse thrust, safe AS3X, and rates. That's still 5 switches, okay? If you wanna add 2 more to that, good luck. You're not gonna get to the ground in one piece. You're gonna be overwhelmed as all get out, I promise you. Instead, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take away all of that except for gear and flaps, and maybe AS3X safe that you have to manage while you're flying. Because rates are only there if you have a problem, okay? If you think you're gonna be up there flipping between high rates and low rates, that's because you're having an RC wet dream. That's not the way it works in the real world when you go out and you're shaking in your boots. Because if you are not shaking in your boots the first time you fly an RC airplane, you are a freak of nature, okay? If you're not scared the first time you fly a plane, you're a freak of nature. That is totally unheard of. You'll be scared to death. That's normal. If you're not scared to death, you're either really good and you've been like reborn and reincarnated as some sort of a person that's already learned to fly. It doesn't happen, okay? It's hard. It's scary. That's why it's cool. That's why it's fun. Because if it was easy and anybody could do it, it wouldn't carry the weight, value, and the persistent attraction to people like me, okay? And you're probably like me or you wouldn't be doing this, okay? So, all right, coming back to it, I'll help you understand why we do it. It's not necessarily right or wrong, it's just the way we do it, okay? All right, so first things first, aileron, of course, that's the roll axis. So this stick for us on a mode 2 transmitter, which is what we do, I highlight and set it to switch F, okay? So when we take off, we're gonna be in the middle mode, but I'm gonna give myself 5% expo, so hardly any expo. Then I'm gonna give myself 10% expo. Then I'm gonna give myself 20% expo, and I'm gonna drop the rates down to 90. What that means is that If I take off and it's too touchy, I can go boom. That drops 10% of the overall rate and it doubles the exponential, which makes a big difference in feel, okay? But you still have almost the same amount of authority with the stick all the way down. You only gain a tiny little bit going here, you get 10% more. But then up here you have full authority, but you have just hardly any expo. So there's a halving effect and a doubling effect. So you have a place to land into, right? So if you're flying and you're out of control, you can make it a little easier to control. Or if you're flying and you need a little bit more control, you can make it a little bit more touchy. Now, once you land, if you realize, okay, on the roll authority, it was terrible, okay, then you go into ailerons. Say you were on elevator. We're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna do all three the same way. So we'll just show you how to copy this real quick. So it'd be 5, then 10, then 20, okay? And we'll drop the rates down to 90. So when you're in this mode, you've got just a limited amount of expo, but no loss of rates, okay? I would rather see somebody use expo than use rates, because expo doesn't take away your capability of throwing the sticks to the absolute outside perimeter of this range and getting that plane to do the thing that you expect it to do. The difference is you have to actually move the stick all the way over. It's very unusual to move these sticks all the way to the extremes, okay? You just don't do it very much when you're flying, okay? So let's say, in my example, you said it's really touchy on the ailerons. Well, then what you might do is you might come in here and say, this is where I landed. The point is you get to the ground in one piece. Then you come in here and you say, okay, let's make that the new middle. So this becomes 20. And you drop your rates to match, or maybe a little bit more if it was even still touchy. Then you say, I want to have a doubling effect again. Well, guess what? Double it. Booyah. And then drop the rates even more, right? So that becomes your normal. That becomes your, I need it even softer. And what you do is you just repeat this process, and then this becomes, you know, kind of a halving effect, okay? See what I'm saying? So you learn where you have the problem, then you apply it on the ground. You don't do it while you're flying. Because even flipping switches like this, you're not going to remember which one does what. I promise you. Okay? So, back to normal. This is the default that we like to start from, 5, 10, and 20, with, of course, the rates being at 100% in the middle, and then just 90% at the top. Okay? So if you guys don't get it, here's my suggestion. Just fly it. Test each mode and you'll be amazed how much it makes that plane fly differently. It's the same exact plane. It's the same exact servos. It's the same exact ESCs. It's the same exact battery. It's the same CG, and it will fly like a totally different plane, right? Okay, so throttle cut set. We don't know what direction the servos need to be. We might need to rotate one or the other. Sometimes they tell us that here. Sometimes they don't. Looks like the flap system, they call out switch D. I don't ever use switch D. I've always used a different switch. And see here, I'm using G for something else, so we automatically can't do that, right? So they were using F, C, and G. I'm just using F, okay? So I just gained you 2 additional switches to use for your stuff, okay? Yeah, nothing else really tells us, okay? So we should be done on this, hopefully. All right, so now our next big move is to basically, we have to set up thrust reverse, which we could do pretty much right away, but what I'll do is I'll defer to, let's see if it's bound still. It may not be bound, so we have to do the safe thing again. Because remember, we erased the acro that was there, renamed it, and it may still be bound, it may not be, I don't know. I'm not gonna risk it. So we're just gonna pretend like it is not bound. We're gonna put the throttle cut on. We're gonna bring our hands in a safe way so that if that prop were to turn on, which it shouldn't, then we would be still safe. I'm pressing down with my forearm, and I've got this ready to go back, but that would put my chest pretty close to that, okay? So we're gonna let it arm. If it does, we control it. Obviously, we're not set up right. Don't worry about the setup being wrong. It doesn't matter yet, but we have not started moving the throttle. While I still control the plane, test the throttle, it's not working. Now I'm gonna come to a safer place. I'm gonna prepare myself in case the motors run backward that I'm holding it like this. I'm not just putting a hand against assuming it's gonna go that way. Remember, we have thrust reverse on this plane. Okay, throttle cuts off, forward thrust. It is definitely producing forward thrust. Throttle cut is on. Okay, tested and it's working. Now we can trust this plane. So the thing that we need to check next is retract. So I'm gonna go ahead and suspend the plane just very carefully on the wing. Actuate to the up position, actuate. So I need to rotate those. So real quick, click, servo setup, travel, reverse, gear. Why do I want the gear like this? I want down, I want up. Now I've got them down and reliably down. Then I'm gonna check the direction of my primary control surfaces while I'm in this menu. Elevator goes up, elevator goes down, that's correct. Rolls to the left, rolls to the right. Roll to the left, that goes up, wing goes down, good. Do the same thing. I want this to roll that way to the left, that goes down, which makes this one go up, which is a roll to the left. Check the other way, same exact thing, same exact thing. If sometimes I do this, just to remind my brain to check. Okay? Yep, 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 yep. So I have to remember to check the steerable is working the same direction. Why would it work the same direction? Because it's mechanically attached. They're not always mechanically attached. Sometimes they're separate servos. Do the due diligence now. It's very quick, it's easy, and it's cheaper than replacing a plane. Okay, now that we know that all this is working, we can start talking about thrust reverse. Okay, thrust reverse has to be activated, and it's activated by scrolling all the way to the right. This says up elevator, left aileron. It's probably timed out because this has to be done within so many seconds of starting. You notice it hasn't changed the screen, so we're gonna let go of the sticks. We're gonna lay this down. Throttle cut is on, it's been tested and vetted. Unplug, plug it back in, let it initiate. We have to do flaps still, of course. Yours will not dance like that until you set it up, okay? Elevator up, left aileron. Up elevator, right aileron. Up elevator, right aileron. Okay, good. So now, ESC 1, we'll do left aileron. Okay, so brake, see how you move up and down? Brake disabled. Nope, we're enabling it to reverse. Brake force, did it tell us brake force?
No, we looked at poles, but I didn't see brake force.
Whatever, I'll just set it to 1. It's not enough probably, guys. We're not gonna mess with anything else. Thrust reverse.
9.
Rudder reverse, normal. We think, we won't know. Keep scrolling down, differential. This is for how much you want the thrust reverse to change. We'll leave it at 10%. Exit with save. Cool. Now, protect yourself, hold the plane, let this arm. Make sure nothing changes. If nothing changes, okay, I'm gonna scroll over one menu. I'm gonna go back, refresh it. Up elevator, left aileron. This may not work when we have to reset the battery. Nope, it does. So step 3, we're gonna go to the right this time. I kind of let off for a second. Okay, good. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, cool. Brake, reverse, brake force, we'll just do 1. So channel 9, we don't know yet if we need to reverse that. Difference, exit with save. Very good. Okay, so I don't know if you have to do anything to actually exit, but I press down. Okay, so now the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make sure throttle is safe. Throttle is safe, it's working with thrust or with our throttle cut. Okay, throttle cut is now off. Forward thrust, first thing I can tell you is that they're rotating the correct direction. We have forward thrust as prescribed by me, the pilot. Now, let's give it some rudder input and a little bit of throttle. Yep, and a little bit of rudder input and a little bit of throttle. So what that's gonna do is as we command yaw to the right and I give a little teeny bit of throttle, it's going to push the plane more that way. And the same is true as we push the plane more that way. So it's gonna pull the plane in that direction. Throttle cuts on and tested. That 10% value at the very end of that sequence in the serial menu can be changed to like 25% if you want. And it will be more aggressive in the differential based on the yaw input on what they were calling channel, did they say channel 7? No, that was the reverse channel.
Just reverse, yeah.
So we changed that to 9. So now we can scroll back over to the monitor, okay? So one click over from the center, we can see that that changes for channel 9. So pull all the way back toward us, this is probably gonna be forward thrust. Throttle cuts off, testing it. It is forward thrust. We do have differential thrust, as you can see. Very good. Now, reversing and reversing, okay? Differential thrust, a little bit of reverse. It's gonna push us backward, okay? It's gonna push us backward. Very good. Okay, throttle cuts back on. Now, what we need to do is we need to get channel 9 to be reverse of what it is now. So that says 100. Okay, so reverse thrust is 100. We already know this from having done this a bunch of times, but we're just going through the process of how we figured it out. So channel 9 or switch G. In the forward position, position 0, I want that to be minus 100. We know that from having tested and looked at monitor. So at that first position, we're gonna get forward thrust. Okay, and then in this middle position, you do not want to leave it in 0 because that would be a floating condition. You do not want to float. This is too dangerous to have it float. So we're going to do plus 100, and then this needs to also be plus 100 to bring us to reverse thrust for both. Why is it backward of what we expect? I don't know. It's just the way it always is. Okay, so there's 100 and 100. So throttle cuts on. I'm going to secure the plane, shut off thrust. Thrust reverse is off. It should be forward thrust. It's working. Thrust reverse is on, working. Thrust reverse is still on and working. Are you seeing the switch?
Yeah.
Thrust reverse is still on and working. Forward thrust is on and still working. Throttle cuts on, stick is down, everything is working now. So the next thing we need to do is we need to set up flaps, okay? I trust this is braking because they're not moving in an idle way when I try to spin them, okay? There's resistance, actively resisting that movement. That's what braking is. It helps the motors to be prepared to switch the direction of the prop shaft output, okay? If you don't brake, you'll get more tractoring, which means you will actually act as a like a physical braking effect as you fly into a landing. So I don't like braking electrically because I like tractoring the props on landing. It helps slow the plane down. So what I do, I'll give it a kiss of throttle to keep the props spinning, which creates a plane of friction. So if you have a prop stopped, there's less drag than there is if you have a plane of prop. It's weird. It seems almost unbelievable when you're new in the hobby, but once you've tested it and challenged that theory a few times, you understand it is totally true. Okay, coming around. So, next move, flaps. So you can walk out of that menu, click, screw down a flap system. We're gonna turn it on to switch B. Okay, so they wanted negative 100, plus 100. I don't even know what direction, but I'm just looking at it right now. I wanna go to normal flight mode because that's my normal flight mode, forward. Okay, so there's 100. And remember, we were talking about 6 and 8 is what they did on the bind and fly call out. Excuse me, when we pulled it out electrically. Okay, so there's takeoff flaps. That's more than I would probably do, so I'm gonna do negative like 30. That's actually too much still. We'll do like negative 50. Okay, so takeoff flaps, then landing flaps is not gonna be 0, it's gonna be full. Landing flaps will be all the way down, minus 100. And then what that means is since I am doing less of a takeoff flap, I'm gonna go ahead and reduce my elevator correction to like 4 and 8. Now, very carefully look at this from here, You see this? Drops down, goes up, okay? Now I'm gonna change my speed to 2 seconds of deployment speed and watch how nice this looks. You're probably thinking, why do you want that slow? Because trust me, when you deploy flaps, there'll be a ballooning effect, which we counter with this, and we counter with the speed of change. If you're really fast, the plane's gonna jump. If you're slow, you're gonna have time to either relax into it with your throttle and your flight performance, the way you command the aircraft, the way AS3X commands the aircraft, the way SAFE impacts and commands and controls the aircraft, and the way that gravity and everything else impacts the aircraft. If it's really herky-jerky fast, it's gonna be jumpy. It's not gonna be good, okay? All right, so takeoff flaps here, landing flaps here, okay? Now we may play with that a little bit. That might not be quite enough. You know what? In fact, I think it is maybe just a little bit light. Let's go to 25. And then let's go to 5. So 5 and 8, okay? Very good, love it. Okay, so now let's make sure our directions are correct. Elevator up, elevator down. Yaw left, yaw right. Roll left, roll right. And our gear are obviously correct because we already did that at the beginning, but I don't want to cycle those while I'm on the ground. So now we have to set up forward programming. But let's do audio events first. Audio events, telemetry warnings, smart battery. Okay, I don't want an alarm for any of these things at all. And you'll notice they're all empty. I want to go to auto config and see if it loads. You know why it didn't? Because it already auto configured when we pulled it the first time. Let's see what happens, and then we'll change from there. You can auto config anytime you want. It's taking forever though.
That is.
Okay, so now if I scroll to the right, you can see that there's all sorts of crap that populates now. Oh yeah, that's the one I love. Okay, shows the voltage. Ooh, now we need to go into telemetry as well. And we have to go to, see all the crap that loaded, guys? Smart battery. Now, that's already inhibited because we inhibited it. And then there's one that's empty. So you could add one if you want. Smart ESC. Look at this. Look, pulls 14, guys. There you go. Now it's all going to work. And this is gonna low voltage alarm at 3.4. That's also where the Avian ESC was set in our serial menu, if you remember. Okay? And if you want warning reports, what I do is I do 15-second refresh, and the type of report, the display, oh man, that's tough because it clears your display of what you're looking at. You can inhibit that. You can have it just do an alarm. And you see how this says tone? I want voice. So it tells me audibly what's going on, okay? Man, these servos are annoying. But we have to have it on for this next step, okay? But I don't want to forget to set the timer. The timer is probably irrelevant on this. I think we do about like 10 minutes, but I'm going to do 8 to be on the safe side. Anything over 25, I want to start the timer. And I want it to be cleared with clear. At 1 minute, I want a voice call out to tell me that we're 1 minute away from landing. And tone and vibrate, excuse me, voice countdown, tone and vibrate for expiration with a tone every minute thereafter. So throttle cuts on, it will still start that, clears it. Okay, very good. You can see we have the smart icon there, which is nice because that's going to tell you that you should be able to connect to your receiver when you go down to, where's forward programming? Where the heck is it?
Systems up.
No, It's supposed to be here. System setup, disconnect RF. Forward programming is on the main screen. You know what? We probably lost the connection. And I'll show you how to get it back. Okay, watch this. Throttle cut's on. If you ever lose your forward programming from the menu, there's a couple things that can cause that. First thing you want to start with, oh thank God, is plug this back in, let it reboot. Sometimes when you go into that serial menu for the Avians, you'll get a little screw up on that, okay? Plus ours is already activated, which is a little bit strange. I just wonder if our firmware is not up to date because of the PSOT sample. Scroll down, where are you, forward programming? Yeah, I don't see it. Okay, so we're gonna do a little research, come right back. Okay, so obviously we don't have forward programming right now, which is a problem. We have to do this. This has only happened to us like one other time. Okay, I'm gonna start by power cycling. We did that, it didn't resolve the conflict. So now I'm gonna go through a rebind, okay? So you'll notice my transmitter's on. I don't ordinarily bind by pressing the bind button while powering, but I'm gonna do it this way on this go around because it's already bound to this transmitter. I have to have the transmitter off or it'll just connect, okay? So this is now off, okay? It's prepared to receive the bind control. I have my throttle cut on and my throttle stick down, and I'll have and keep maintain of control of the aircraft, okay? So pressing and holding this doesn't matter while you're starting it, you just plug it in. Then I'm gonna press and hold this. Okay, now it's in bind mode. Okay, now watch this. Press and hold the I switch, press and hold the power. Okay, so it didn't even go to the bind mode. That's so weird.
That's weird.
Okay, so I guess I'll go to bind this way. Can you come back over here, please? As long as it got me into bind, that's all I care about. Okay, so we'll let it start. We'll just be prepared in case something weird happens. There shouldn't be anything weird happen, but if it does, we've got control of the plane. Auto configuring again, re-auto configuring. Admittedly, the way we did this process was a little bit backward because we pulled the receiver's model out and it's giving us the opportunity to do this. I'm gonna skip it now. And I'm going to, if you don't use it, I'm gonna confirm, okay? So now we have all my stuff. You can see safe, all that stuff. It's just labeled. Okay, elevator's working, roll's working, takeoff flaps, landing flaps, all that crap's working. So let's click and scroll down. And as you can see, forward programming has reestablished itself, okay? So forward programming, it's just basically a menu option that disappears sometimes if you do weird stuff with your binding. We did weird stuff with our binding this time, okay? All right, so how do we do this? First of all, we go to gyro settings. I'm gonna go down to advanced menus, turn it on. Gyro settings, AS3X settings, AS3X gains, priority, stop, lock, release rate, all that, okay? AS3X throttle trim, arm, active, okay? AS3X gains. So, I need to make sure that we're calling out the right channel, which we're not currently doing, I would suspect. So I'm gonna go save select. This is where you actually assign the channel, okay? See how it says aux 7? It uses the full vernacular now, which is really nice. And it might be backward. So I want to turn on safe select. And you're like, what does that have to do with AS3X? Well, you have to tell it where it's finding the channel. The bind and fly profile is different than the plug and fly on an AR631 or AR637 or AR8360T or whatever it is that we do in a plug and fly model, okay? So now you can tell it's changing, so it's working. So you can also highlight this. I think you can go down to, nope, there is no flight mode. So I'm gonna put it back to channel 7, that's where we are, okay? So safe is technically on up here, that's backward to what we want. AS3X is on here, and we want that off. No big deal, we'll turn it off right now. And then AS3X is on here, so it's flipped, right? So how do we resolve that? We don't use forward programming for that. We just go into the standard old crusty reverse mode. Aux 7, now it's reversed. Now you'll notice off, and safe, okay? Now, what's a really quick way to test this without even going into forward programming? Sticks down and over, off. AS3X is gonna, the safe is gonna limit your throws, okay? Safe is on, now it's off. You notice that it's got less throws, now we have more throws. Okay, so that's still not working right, okay? So we're gonna click and we're gonna scroll back down to, where is forward programming? There it is. Gyro settings, AS3X settings, excuse me, safe settings. So in this mode, I want, see now it flipped them, that's why. See, safe is on here. AS3X and safe are off. And AS3X only is on, okay? So now I'm gonna go to AS3X settings, AS3X gains. So in this mode, it looks like whatever that is whatever that is. It's off in this mode, and then it goes to safe, so it's no longer really a setting of AS3X at that point. It becomes just safe, okay? I don't mess with these, just so you know. Okay, very good. And I don't mess with these either, but you could have two different settings if you wanted, okay? Now safe select, that's all been set, it's all been configured. Now you can go to other settings and you can do all these things. Okay, so I'll walk out. Now let's test our controls. Elevator up, elevator down, good. Left, right, yaw, good. Roll left, roll right, good. And then of course, takeoff flaps, landing flaps, good. But do we have AS3X? Technically, AS3X should not be active until we give 25% of throttle or greater. It's not doing anything. That's because we haven't given 25% of throttle. Throttle cuts off. We gave, might need to hold it a little different. There's 50% throttle, throttle cuts on. Now you're gonna notice it's working. You can hear it. You can tell that that rudder goes that way when I push it hard. Yep, when I pull it this way, it goes this way. It's resisting. Same thing with the ailerons. Up, now down. A little harder to see on the up, it is working. Same thing over here, up, down. If you can't see, put your hand on it and feel it. That goes up, that goes down. You can feel it, okay? Then elevator, same thing. Up, down. Up, yep, I feel it. Down, yep, I feel it, okay? So, another way to test if it's on or off, on, off. Same movement, on, off. Now safe will go back to working again. Safe is on, but the difference is it's also gonna add in auto leveling. Throttle cuts on, I verified everything is working. This is the best way to test safe, flip it on its back. Look for the center. It's gonna mix in rudder and everything, you see that? Mm-hmm. Okay, so, quickest route to level. Also, as you come to level, the ailerons, it's trying to pull you down here, it's trying to push you up there to level. Then look at the elevator, it's a little hard to see, so I'll hold it at an angle. Going out of a climb or out of a dive. Out of a climb. Okay, now in this, it's not gonna like hold a knife edge, okay? But it will resist environmental impact with AS3X and safe together in tandem, okay? All right, so this plane is ready to fly. Let's quick check gear while we've got the plane picked up. And we've already checked center of gravity. We've already checked thrust reverse. But now that we have AS3X and safe turned on, let's do one last quick check in AS3X where we're gonna take off the plane. Camera crew, back over here. So, throttle cuts off, forward thrust, differential, yaw to the left, differential, yaw to the right, okay? Neutral sticks, 25% throttle, thrust reverse, slowing it down so you can see the difference, slowing it down so you can see the difference, and that's in reverse thrust as it rolls back to me. Okay, so all of the directions of thrust are correct. The braking on the motors, throttle cuts on, throttle stick is down. Both are braking. It's hard to test if they're braking the same amount by just flicking them like that. You have to kind of see that in the air, because what'll happen is you'll be flying along at say 40 miles an hour. and they'll be going like this if they're even, or you'll be flying along at 45 miles an hour, and this one will be going, this one will barely be moving, or vice versa. And that can tell you if you have a disparity in braking. You'll notice a small yaw impact when that happens, but it's very, very small. It's almost indistinguishable, so you just kind of got to get it right when you set it up, okay? All right, so we have AS3X set up. We have safe set up. We have an off setting where they're both off, which is really nice for people that want that, you know, old-timey feel, no stabilization. Some people like that. I don't know why. I love the stabilized, locked-in feel of AS3X. I do not like safe anymore. When I was beginning, I really needed safe to learn how to fly. Looks, fit and finish, and just general experience of building this was great. The only problem we had was the forward programming menu didn't populate on this transmitter. That could be a function of we had to do things sort of out of order to teach you both different routes, okay? I don't think you're gonna experience that, but if you do, remember, if you don't see forward programming, the first step is power cycle, give it a count to 10 or 20, plug it back in, see if it populates on the list. If it populates, go with it, okay? Then option 2, if that doesn't work, you're gonna rebind using the same profile that you've already created or pulled out of there, and just skip if you created it, or just reload it. I don't care if you didn't, but either way, you can skip it again and just go with what you'd already modified as well, okay? Now, the third thing to do is if it fails to load that forward programming, is you can actually re-up the firmware on that device. That would be the receiver or your transmitter or both. We've never had to do that to get these things to work together, but there is a huge disparity in this and the 2.7 firmware. You know, big difference going up to 3.14 or whatever we're at now, 3.16, I think. So there are so many features that are now unlocked in our current setup that were not available just a few short years ago, and they're really good features. So you want to take advantage of it. And obviously, I just want to say E-flite, good job with this plane. This plane was great before. It's going to be even better now. I love the livery. It's very beautiful. I think it's going to be striking up against this sky right now. The silver is striking. It's a great plane. One of the best planes you guys have ever put together. And my only complaint is I'd like to see a Carbon Z D18, and I would really like to see a King Air. We got the King Air there. I'm pretty sure it's a King Air. I would love to see this in a King Air platform because you've got all the pieces of the pie. But you know why they don't do that? I bet Beechcraft is more reasonable with their royalties.
Yeah, I bet so.
Than
licensing.
It's not Cessna. It's what's the Tektron or Textron? And, yeah, because they think you're building a real plane.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, good Lord, they've got Airbus over here. You know, it's all these other branded choices. Just keep in mind, we love real scale planes here on Brian Phillips RC, probably more than anything else. Of course, sport flyers are great, and they're fun, and they do what they want to do really good. But I love scale planes, okay? That is like what I do, and that's why I'm in this hobby. Scale helicopters would be a very close second. And then everything else kind of lines up past that. Doesn't mean I have a great appreciation for these things. I really do like them. Cars, trucks, boats, float equipped planes, all that stuff. We obviously like them. But I am in this hobby because I love watching scale airplanes. And it's kind of ironic because even though I love warbirds, I really like general aviation planes. It's like one of my things. So if you're anything like me, check out the links in the video description below. Buy one of these Beechcraft D18s, RC-45Js. You can also, I think you can still get the D18, but if not, I apologize in advance. Or if you're watching this at a point where they have, for some reason, ran out of stock on one or the other, you may have your hand forced, okay? Just keep in mind, if you want to support Brian Phillips RC, there's other ways to do it, not the least of which is Patreon for monthly support, or be a member on YouTube. You can be the first one to kick us over 100. I think we're like 98 or something. That's really cool. Thanks, guys. Just so you know, it's not a huge money maker for us. It never has been, never will be. But we really appreciate it. It's a nice gesture. If you guys want to help us out a few bucks, that's really nice. We appreciate it. Also, Patreon, PayPal for one-time donations. And then, what's the other one?
YouTube Super Thanks.
YouTube Super Thanks. If you want to throw us a couple of bucks or can of Coke or beer or whatever it is you guys like drinking. That's cool. We appreciate it. It all adds up, but believe me, most of it's gone already.
Yes.
So it's in the coffers of the bank. But that being said, you can help us pay that back so we don't go to jail or anything. At this point, we just love the hobby. We want to see it grow. We want to expand it. We want more people doing it because it's an amazing, wonderful experience. And especially if you're right here with us, you're in one of the best communities of RC enthusiasts on Brian Phillips RC. We're regular people, we work for a living, and we love doing this. But we do crazy stuff too that's a little bit unusual and off the wall, like building giant hangars and stuff. So if you want to see more about the aerodrome we're putting together, we've been doing that for quite a while now. We've been at this property for 7 years. We've been working on the aerodrome pretty hard for the last 3.5, 4 years because we had to recover from getting this property and that property and the other property because there ain't nothing cheap about it. So,
Nope.
But I love this hobby and I want to share the joy of it with you right here. So don't forget to smash the bell when you subscribe, okay? So you get notified of new content, and obviously click the like button so that the YouTube algorithm doesn't preferentially treat all the guys that clip all the bad stuff out, so you're left with all the highlights and none of the lowlights, okay? You'll notice we showed problems on this build, AKA vis-a-vis the forward programming not working, okay? We show all the stuff that doesn't work because we want to teach you how to deal with it. Believe me, if you think you're going to open one of these planes and put the whole thing together and never run into a problem, you are in the wrong hobby because there are always problems, even on the best planes, okay? But we'll help you figure out a way to overcome them. And if you're with us for more than a few minutes, we will help you find success. So guys, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching, and definitely come back for more. Oh, one more thing. If you want to see a competitive offering, you want to see the original D18, you can check out BrianPhillipsRC.com. I keep picking up this cup because I'm drinking coffee. BrianPhillipsRC.com or BPRC.me. Okay? It's going to take you to the same place. That's our website, our domain. And you can sort by brand specific stuff, like an affiliate we worked with, or you can sort by type. And both will help you to navigate to what you want to see right now, and you don't have to wait. It's already there. Thousands of videos just waiting for you. And I'm not talking about 5-minute clips. I'm talking about hours long tutorials that tell you exactly how to open the box and make it fly, okay? So we hope we answered all your questions. If we didn't, then leave them in the comments below. We or somebody that's watching alongside you on this video will try to help you out. We appreciate you guys being here with us. And there is so much more right around the corner. Can't wait to get you that. But stay tuned. So much more from Brian Phillips RC.